I get really hesitant while we're watching this, and I click the button. I think that we're live, so we're ready to go. Hey, everybody, welcome to our webinar. We're going to be talking about SEO, SEO Unplugged. I can see my mug on screen, which is totally fascinating to me. Fascinating is not the right word, but I'm trying not to insult myself as we get going. All right, so bear with me as we get going. I know there's huge events going on in the world right now, and I'm wearing this fancy Garth Brooks things. Unfortunately, I couldn't get the Winston Churchill microphone, so this is what I'm going to be running with today. But you know what? If you guys have like a game or something like that playing in the background, I'm going to pipe it through this headset in case I go south. That's what's probably happening, is I'm listening to something else as we get going. Anyways, moving along, we're going to be talking about SEO, general broad strokes. We won't be getting into a lot of details and a lot of intricacies. This is mostly just a what the heck is SEO? How does it work? And we've given this presentation at a lot of different small business events. We've given the presentation all over the place at GoDaddy. And really, the audience this is intended for are for people that have worked with SEO experts. They've worked with SEO people. They may have casually read some of the stuff to try to figure out what will work for them on Google and Yahoo. That's who this is for. And bear with me as I click around. I've got my mouse, I've got my keyboard, but my screen's a little bit away as I click through some different things here to share my screen. So this right here, I think I'm doing the right thing, is a big presentation. All right, I think this is good. And we are going to go up. There we go, the first slide to get things started. SEO Unplug, what the heck is SEO and how do I manage it? Hello everybody, my name is Shawn. I am a small business superfan. Isn't everybody, because that's the easiest way to find the best tacos and the best haircuts in town. Now I need to apologize in advance that I'm probably going to be talking a little too much about food today. Now I'll do my best to come up with some other examples like roller skating or something like that, but that just it just happens when talking about small businesses this early in the morning for me. And GoDaddy in general, all of us here, huge small business super fans. Those are the people we work with the most. And when I say small business, I even mean micro-sized business. So the coffee shop down the street that has 4 employees, or the contractor, or the artist, or the designer, or the freelancer, and that's what we're all about, and that's who we're trying to help and also learn from, so that we can do the right thing for them. Now, when we talk about SEO, this is the big one to talk about. So, quick history lesson for those of you that might not know. Google, when it came onto the scene, this is more than 10 years ago now, original internet, you had Yahoo, you had Alta Vista, you had Hotbot, you had these different places where you would go to find out cool things on the internet. I remember going and finding just lyrics to songs and thought that was the coolest thing ever in the world on like a Unix server that looked like something from the Matrix. When Google came on, the way that it worked is if you built a website, you could self-identify. So if I built a website about pancakes, I could self-identify and type in the code on that website, hey, this website's about pancakes. And Google would take that, read the code, and go, hey, this website right here, this is about pancakes. Well, that's legit. That's great. And that's an easy way to kind of do things. Well, this is what happened over time. Because we're dealing with technology, we're dealing with computers, there were a lot of people that then took that and tried to abuse it. So if pancakes became the new black, there would be somebody out there that really had a website about tacos, but they wanted people to find them, so they would somehow put pancakes on the website and try to trick Google, or magic pills or something, right? And so Google over time has gotten very, very, very smart about this, and have even said, and I'm going to repeat this over and over and over again as we go, has even said that they're interested in people that make websites for human beings. Now, having said that, there is something really important that we need to remember about Google. So this is the easiest way that I found, and maybe because I'm obsessed with robots and science fiction. You know, I I grew up in the '80s. I guess maybe that's reason. Listen, Google is a lot like a giant robot in the sky. Now that's creepy. That's like Terminator stuff. But bear with me for a second. Google is like this giant robot in the sky looking down on the world. So in this case, looking down on all of these different websites. And when it looks down on all those different websites, it's got to determine, the robot, which ones are ones that are relevant and cool for human beings. So that becomes the crux of like, how does the robot measure that? How does the robot determine that? Because it's not black and white. It's not just, hey, I wrote a website about pancakes. Google, please list me. It has to determine whether or not that's the cool website for pancakes. So Google is really just interested in this one primary question, right? Are you legit? And when I say legit, I don't just mean, yes, I am a real business. I mean legit in the same sense of one of my close friends, right? He says, instead of saying like that's cool or that's awesome or that's totally radical, this is a guy that says that's legit. So Google's looking for cool websites, legit businesses. So something that's not fly by night. So anything that we do, and it holds true for almost everything you could do to help with SEO with your business, but anything we do that basically says, yes, I am legit, will help, because Google is a business. And so all of us continually ask this question: is Google legit? Let me give you an example about what this means on whether or not Google, and you could substitute Google here for Yahoo or for Bing or for DuckDuckGo. Like, you could substitute that because they're a business, right? They want you to keep using them to find cool things on the internet. Here's an example. Here in Phoenix, and I know this is like this in a lot of different towns all over the country. There's a best of magazine or newspaper that comes out every single year. And in this thing, it tells you where the best tacos are, it tells you where the best haircut is, it tells you where the best place to get a drink and watch a movie is. It has everything in there. It's the Best of Phoenix magazine. And I love this thing. Like, I wait for it every year. I love it when it comes out because I get to see all of this really great stuff that I can do in Phoenix. Now, if I got this magazine, and let's say it says in here, hey, these are the best places to go in Phoenix to find ice cream tacos, okay? So I see that, and I'm like, oh, man, yeah, I got a hankering for some ice cream tacos. And I go to this place, and I get the ice cream taco, and it's horrible. And the service is bad. And the place is dirty, right? And it's not that great. Then the next time they release this magazine, the next year this magazine comes out, and I look to see where the best places to get ice cream tacos are, I'm going to trust it a little bit less. See, if the results that come back aren't legitimate from New Times and from this magazine that tells me where the cool things are in the Valley, if those results don't hold true, then I'm going to trust it a little bit less. See, Google's exactly the same way. So in the case with Google, when it serves up results, Google wants those results to be perfect for you. So if you go and you type in, hey, I'm going to search for pancakes, right? When I go to search for pancakes, I need to make sure that those results that serve back, this is what Google's interested in. Google needs to make sure that those results that come back are the best places to find out about pancakes. Okay, so let's move on here. So Google's really just interested then in quality, in stuff that's legitimate, and stuff then for you that is mentionable. You know, there's a see if I can figure this. See if I can figure this out really quick. I was going to switch back to video. Where are we at? Oh, we're back on video. Right on. So another way to explain this, I was showing you the picture that has somebody that is whispering to somebody else's ear. There's a really great book by Seth Godin called Purple Cow. And in this, he talks about things being remarkable, or things that are like, by the strict definition, you're able to remark about it. And that's the type of stuff that you need to build. That's the type of business that you need to have to make your SEO really, really work or be really powerful. Is you need to create something that other people, when they see it, they want to talk about it. They want to share. And that's going to play into the main things that we're going to talk about with SEO. So as I figure this out and I switch back and forth between my screen and everything else, uh, so back to my screen here. As we get going, that becomes one of the steps of what we need to figure out. So these are the 3 steps that we're going to cover. First and foremost is define yourself. We need to come up with exactly what it is that makes us remarkable, makes us unique. What is our gift? What are we trying to offer the world? The second step for SEO is to create the actual content. So once we figured out what it is that we're doing, and in this particular step, what other people call what it is that we're doing, then we're going to create the content to put onto our page. This is what we call on-page SEO. It's the text that the robot recognizes when they take a look at it. And then the third thing that we're going to do then is make friends. As I was mentioning before, we want to create a network. We want to have things that are remarkable as we build out our business and network, so that the robot can notice what's happening. So let's do a little soul searching with robots. First thing, the first term that we want to make sure that everybody understands is this idea of a keyword. And many of you guys have heard this before. A keyword is the phrase. So there's a little bit of a misnomer there, right? Like, it's not keywords, but just a keyword. What's your keyword? The phrase someone might type into a search engine to find your business on the internet. For most small businesses, it's usually 3 or more targeted, very relevant words that describe what you do. For example, you got best pizza New York, pizza delivery New York, Chelsea, vegan pizza New York. And as you can imagine, there's competition for different keywords. So again, if I go back to this pancake idea of me being listed on the internet for pancakes, if I just want to be listed for the word pancake, I have to be the de facto place to find pancakes on the internet. Now, as we move forward, I actually want to use a real-world example. Everybody meet my dad. This is my dad, looking very dapper in his used fireman outfit. So my dad, he was a fireman for 30 years, fireman paramedic for 30 years. And my dad one day decided that it was too cold to make furniture in the garage, and that's a very manly thing, right? Fireman, mustache, garage. Dad, he decided it was too cold to make furniture in the garage, so he decided to come inside and try his hand at quilt making. Now, I get that sounds totally fake. I promise that it's not. My dad, the fireman, became known as the quilting fireman of southeastern Idaho. So in a land of potatoes and mountains, he became known as the quilting fireman. Dad, I love you. I'm kind of making fun of you, but I love you. So my dad decided this is what he wanted to do for a business, and he wants to make quilts, and he's made a ton of them. He's won awards. When I sat down with my dad to talk about what the possible keywords would be for his business, for what he wants to do since he's retired, this is how we did it. We basically created a matrix of different possible keywords that people would type in. So they're pieces of that keyword phrase. So the first one, buy or order, and that's really typical for a lot of people. It could be a location, it could be something else, but that's the first part. The prefix is a keyword phrase. The second part is like the core thing that my dad offers, right? So custom quilts, patchwork quilts, handmade quilts, hand-sewn quilts. And then the last one is the suffix, or what somebody else might type in at the very end. So in this case, I've got buy, order, custom quilts, online, and then made by a dude. This is an effort of my dad and I to be clever and charming and funny. It sometimes works. Sometimes it doesn't. So once we have this list, we can actually put together a master list by multiplying these phrases together, by combining these phrases together. And this is what we come up with when we pull them together. I've got custom quilts, patchwork quilts, handmade quilts, hand-sewn quilts, buy custom quilts, buy patchwork quilts, buy hand-sewn quilts online. We got all these different phrases. Now, once we have all these different phrases or keywords, the things that we think people might type in to find the quilts that my dad makes, right? To find somebody to make them a custom handmade quilt. Once we have this, we have a couple options to figure out whether or not they actually work. Now, the first one we can do is just type in these phrases and see what types of websites come up. Right, so if I go in and I type in custom quilts into Google or Yahoo or Bing or wherever and see what the results are, my dad and I can both look at those results and say, oh yeah, that totally looks like what I do. That totally works. It's very similar to what I do. So that keyword's probably legitimate. The other thing that we can do, and this is really great, is we can actually find out whether or not, or how many people actually search for the keywords that we came up with. Like, how do I find out if anybody ever uses these phrases to search for stuff? Because Google will probably pull back results, but how many people actually typed in custom quilts made by a dude? Like, if I type that in, I'll get something, right? Something will come back. But do very many people type that in? And if nobody types that in, those keywords really don't mean anything. Like, if that's the phrase that I'm interested in to serve back results and to grow my business and for people to find me, and nobody ever searches for it, then that's not any good. Well, you're in luck. Google specifically has provided a service. They use it for their AdWords, but it also shows you the results. This is just a short link to it, x.co/keywordfun. This will take you to a website on Google. It's a tool. It's a keyword analyzer, where it will tell you whether or not people search for those particular phrases. Not only that, it will also give you recommendations and suggestions on other keywords or other words that you may want to target for your website. So here's an example of what the results looked like. And this may have changed slightly what the look and feel is like, but these were the results that we got back when we took that list, that monster list that we put together, and we put it into the keyword analyzer. And these are the results that we got back. I've got patchwork quilts, handmade quilts, custom quilts, hand-sewn quilts, and those show me, listen, about 6,000 people actually search for patchwork quilts. So that gives me like an average monthly search. So that tells me, yeah, there are people that are searching for these terms, or handmade quilts, 3,600, or custom quilts, or hand-sewn quilts. This shows me whether or not people are searching for it. Now, no surprise, and this is a good rule to follow, our efforts to be clever about this did not necessarily pan out. If you notice down at the bottom, buy patchwork quilts made by a dude, unfortunately have 0 average monthly searches coming back. Now, the reason I say that, it's important to watch that on being clever or coming up with unique things. And this goes even for the words that you're going to write on your website, or even for the menu that you put on your website, is people just don't search for it. They're not expecting it. They're not looking for it. And so we found that out pretty quickly, that we need to come up with what people are going to be looking for. So once we did that, we came up with a master list. We have patchwork quilts, handmade quilts, custom quilts, hand-sewn quilts, buy handmade quilts, custom patchwork quilts, and buy handmade quilts online. Now, my dad, who's just getting started, right, and sort of figuring this out and playing with it to see whether or not he can get the results, and he's really interested in getting ranked on the first page in a lot of these cases, we went with something that was pretty straightforward and pretty easy. Custom quilts and hand-sewn quilts were the 2 keyword phrases that we decided to play with and to target for his website, for his business. Now, once we have those keywords and we have those set up, it's time to actually just get busy and start writing, start putting something together. Now, this is where we come back to The giant robot in the sky. Okay, so let me see if I can switch so I can use some of my hand gestures in playing with this. Okay, so giant robot in the sky. In fact, here, uh, as it's looking down on the internet and it's looking for these particular keywords. So if I type in a custom quilt and giant robot says, oh, okay, somebody's looking for custom quilt, I'm going to look down on the internet and try to find where those words are at on different websites. Now, as it's looking down, it's not as black and white as that. It's not just, hey, I'm just going to look down and find custom quilt and serve up these results. There's going to be other things that the giant robot in the sky is looking for. But that phrase is going to be very, very, very important. And we're going to need to take that phrase and those phrases, and we're going to want to put them on our website so that other people can see them, not just the robot. See, it used to be that we might just throw those keywords or those key phrases, kind of throw them on the back end of the website or hide them on the website or put them somewhere so that we can be witty and clever when writing to our people. But remember, Google is interested in, and I think all the search engines are interested in, websites that are creating content for human beings, not just for the giant robot in the sky. Okay, so this is the number one thing that we need to keep in mind as we start to write out the text or write out the content for my dad's website, because he's going to be tempted, knowing my dad, he's going to be tempted in doing something a little bit more unique. So here's my dad, first pass, right? He sees all the keywords, he sees all the possibilities, and he's like, great, you know what we're going to do? We're just going to put them all there, and we're going to hedge our bets, right? So if somebody looks for patchwork quilts, it will come up, and if somebody looks for handmade quilts, it will come up, and if somebody looks for cast. So this is what we got. Hi, my name is Neil. I make patchwork quilts and sell them. I love to sit and watch kung fu movies and work on my handmade quilts. People think it's strange that a guy like me would like to make custom quilts, hand-sewn quilts, handmade quilts, custom patchwork quilts, buy handmade quilts online. Now, first off, this is not written for human beings. This is written to try to trick the robot into the sky and hedge our bets. Something that industry analysts and SEO experts have called keyword stuffing. So with that in mind, Google's gotten very, very smart. If you look like you're trying to compensate for something because you're not legit, it could actually hurt your SEO ranking. So we need to be careful with that. I took my dad's copy, which was brilliant, like kung fu movies. Those are fantastic, right? And we whittled this down to focus on the one thing that we want to focus on. So custom handmade quilts. So hey there, I'm Neil, and I make custom handmade quilts. Now I do have the word quilt in here again. I have the call to action on contact me that's in there a little bit later. But basically, general rule of thumb, if there's a keyword that you're after, if there's something that you need to get on there, 1 or 2 times on the website is plenty. You don't need to repeat it over and over and over again. Because again, if that's what they're interested in is copy or content for human beings, then you don't want to write it for the robot. Now they're getting very, very smart. Like, hey, listen, their robot's reading more and more like a human being. So what are some of the other things that we can do that will help? Well, here's something else that is really important. Headlines are very, very important. Now, headlines for everybody, they help us, people, and robots find stuff we care about on your website. Now, this is how it works. Headlines in HTML, the markup language or the code for your website. Headlines are designated with H1, H2, H3 tags. Like they're actually wrapped in code that says, hey, this particular section of text is important. So in this particular case, as an example, we have an H1 tag that says, it's a headline that says, I make custom handmade quilts. Now this is telling the reader, obviously, because it's big, right? It's a headline. When we scan through websites, we look for headlines for the things that are important to us. They're going to see, I make custom handmade quilts. That's a person sees that and goes, this is exactly what I'm looking for. Robot sees that, and you've identified it as, this is important content. This is important text for my readers. And so that's why headlines are so important. So now I have my keyword. I have my keyword phrase in there twice. Once at a headline and once actually in the copy. So I make custom handmade quilts. Hey there, my name is Neil, and I make custom handmade quilts. All right. So I've got that in there a couple of times. So headlines. Headlines are really important. Put your keyword in a headline to show the robot and to show the people that are coming to your website that those things are important. All right. So the final thing as far as content that you put on your website, pictures. So photos on your website. Now, there's a million different reasons to put, okay, not a million, maybe a dozen, but there's a ton of different reasons to put pictures on your website. It makes it easier to share in social media. It makes it more engaging for your visitors. We are visual people. We like pictures. We gravitate towards pictures. It helps your conversion. It helps your leads. In this particular case, it's another thing that you can do to show the robot, to show Google that you are legitimate, that you have care, that you take care in your business. So when it goes through your website and it looks for that content about your business, it sees, hey, listen, there's a picture of quilts on here. And it looks as though this is a business about custom handmade quilts. So photos are also important, and they will help show the robot that you're legitimate and that you're a real business, right? Coming all the way back to that example, excuse me, that example of the New Times Phoenix magazine. You want to do everything you can to make that business look, your idea, your nonprofit, your organization, look legitimate, like you're actually communicating with other people. Okay, so let's nerd out briefly. Any SEO presentation is going to have to talk about a couple of nerdy things, even though this one's very, very high level and it's, broad stroke, quick flyby on the SEO concepts. But as we talk about what we call on-page SEO, or the actual content that goes on your website, there are a couple of things that you've probably heard about. Now, one of them here is the Google sitemaps, or XML sitemaps for your website, and a lot of people have heard about these. They've talked about them a lot. Here's and this is opinion according to Shawn Pfunder. Listen, a sitemap for your website is totally fine. It's totally legit. If you're just getting started and you're completely confused and you're overwhelmed anyways, and you're doing this on your own, a sitemap might not be necessary, especially out of the gate. And let me explain why. If you have a simple website, you've got 5 pages on your website. This is the type of website where you just want people, when they do a search for pizza in Phoenix, maybe your website comes up through Yelp or something like that. It's a simple website. As long as all of the links to your website, all of the pages that you have on your website are easy to get to in a menu at the top of your website, or from page to page on your website, then the robot is smart enough to look down at your website and then say, oh, okay, looks like we've got a home page here. Oh, looks like there's a link to an About Us file, and there's a link to a services page, and there's a link to a testimonials page, and it will crawl through those pages to find the rest of the content on your website. Now, if you are using your hosting account or your website to put coupons on there, to put different deals, to test different landing pages or different pages for your website, if you're doing something like that, then a sitemap might be really beneficial to you, because that robot, when it comes down, won't see the links to those different pages off of your main page, because you're just using it as like a file repository or another place to put things that you can link to in social media. Now, if you want those things to show up, a Google sitemap is probably important to you. Now, the next thing then on there is to, hold on one second. The next thing that you want to do is take a look at the metadata for your website. So in the case of the metadata, that sounds like a Hardy Boys mystery, the missing case of the missing metadata. Listen, there were 2 different really important pieces of metadata. Now, what metadata is it's the code that's hiding in the background on your website. It's the stuff that a person can't see necessarily, but that the robot can see. Now, early days, metadata was totally abused, where somebody would say, hey, I'm going to put every possible keyword in the world on the back end code of my website so that the robot can see it, and hopefully it will serve up results. And then the other one was the meta description. It was an easy way for you to describe what this website was about or what this page is about. Now, two recommendations here. First, the meta description is absolutely important. And one of the reasons I say it's important, like, does it help with search engine ranking? Does it help Google? Sure. One of the reasons I think the meta description is so important is because so many search engines and social media avenues, when somebody goes to share a page on your website or to share your website, oftentimes it will take what's called the meta description and display that. Now, many of you are going to be like, oh, great, how do I add a meta description to my website? Well, the good news is if you're using something like WordPress, you're using something like GoDaddy Website Builder, and even some of the other website builders that are out there on the market, many of them have a field for the pages that you create just called description. Like, what is this page about? And that's really, really where you add a description, right? That's definitely an important part of it. Now, keywords are a different story. So as people abused the keywords and would hide them in the background and put all these different keywords in there, they became less important, and they could even be damaging depending on how many you put in there. Because again, you're trying to trick the robot, right? Don't try to trick the robot. If the keyword is important to your business, if the keyword is relevant to your business, then it should be on your actual page, not hidden in the background in these keywords. So keywords, totally legit. You could add 3 or 4 keywords to the meta keywords on your site if you want to. I think it's a better idea, especially as you get started, to put relevant keywords and things that are relevant to your website in the actual content that people see. Like, don't hide it. If it's that important, it should be front and center. So, quick recap on these two elements. The sitemap. Listen, if you got awesome navigation, you can get to all of the pages from a menu at the top of your website or on the side of your website. I wouldn't worry about it right now. And the second, the other two pieces related to meta. Yes, on meta description, I would worry very little about the meta keywords. Like, it just, as a high level general rule, if it's legitimate, if they're legitimate keywords, if they're things that are important, you want them to show up on your actual website, in the actual copy on your website. Okay, so now we get to the good part. We just talked about on-page SEO, and now we need to talk about now we need to talk a little bit about making friends. Listen, making friends. I'm probably a horrible guy to talk to about making friends in general, but when it comes to SEO, when it comes to networking, when it comes to growing your business, this is a concept that's very, very, very powerful. And here's how it works. If we go back to the robot, right? Giant robot in the sky looking down on, it is creepy. I know. It's a giant robot in the sky looking down on the internet. It's going to be looking for activity around your business. So it's going to want to see not only that I have custom quilt on my page, it's going to want to see that there are other websites out on the internet, other people in social media, other places that are talking about my website, that are talking about my business, that are talking about the things that I'm creating. So giant robot looks down, see, oh, this is about custom quilts, these are about patchwork quilts, and holy cow, looks like all of southeastern Idaho is talking about it. Or, holy cow, why in the world are all these different people mentioning it? So go back again. I know, talking about food again, but going back to the pancake idea, right? Now, if I create a website that becomes the place to go and find recipes about pancakes, and that website isn't all that great, right? It doesn't look great. It's not shared. People don't keep going to it over and over again. And somebody else comes along and they just create something that's gorgeous and it's easy to share. And lots of people are like, hey, listen, they've got a really bizarre pancake recipe on here for, sweet potatoes and cinnamon or something mixed into I told you I was going to talk about food, and it's going to drive me nuts. But they create this just amazing recipe on there, and that gets shared all over the place. Giant robot in the sky will look down and go, okay, here's an encyclopedic place to get pancakes. That's legitimate. Lots of great stuff there. I can see the content. And then it's going to look over here and say, well, this one's got an awful lot of content too, and everybody's talking about it. All these different websites are linking to it. In social media, they're linking to it. I'm going to give this one a little bit higher ranking. Because if you think about it, if it's looking for websites, the best, the legit places, right? The best place in Phoenix to get an ice cream taco, right? If it's looking for that, then it's going to serve up the one that's getting the most buzz. The place that's just everybody is going to. Let me show you like a couple of pictures that explain this a little bit better. This is this idea of being remarkable, right? So in this particular case, this is an easy concept, right? You have your website, the place that you want people to come to. And then I've got, in the orange, I've got all these different social media networks, right? Great places where people could be talking about me and linking to my website. We call these linkbacks, right, to the website. And then I have different blogs that are out there too, right? So I have different blogs that I'm a part of and maybe I'm writing on, and it's linking back to my website. And I've got newspaper and television and email, and I've got all these different places that could be linking back to my website. Now, the title of this entire presentation is SEO Unplugged, and now I'm getting to the point like here where I can explain exactly why that's the title. Any small business owner, any organization, anybody that's trying to really create something remarkable for the world, for a job, for a service, to offer something cool to the world, this is the way that you've got to do it. Anything like this. I'm talking about robots in this particular case, and I'm talking about the internet. But you network in general now, right? When you start a business and you want people to come, or you start a coffee shop, and it's a sci-fi themed coffee shop, right? And you got robots, and I've got Princess Leia behind the counter or something like that. I may rely on word of mouth for people to come to the place. So somebody will tell their friends, hey, dude, you gotta totally go down to this coffee shop and check this place out. It's really remarkable. That's a link back. It's just in real world. It's just not on the internet. And that's why Google and Bing and Yahoo, that's why they use that concept as a way to determine whether you're legitimate or whether they should rank you. Because again, they're in the business of they want you to use them to find places, so they want to serve up the best stuff. And so the talk around your website becomes very, very important. Now, second part of this, and I think this is really, really important to mention. So as people figured out that this is how Google does things, they tried to, again, trick it, right? So they create a bunch of fake blogs or fake websites that will create links back to your site so that Google will go, wow, look at this. There's a whole bunch of Ukrainians that are really interested in this guy's quilting business in southeastern Idaho. Okay, so those websites that were all created were linking back. Now, technically, is that a link back? It absolutely is. But Google's very, very smart. And what it's looking for are links back to your website that are legitimate as well. They're coming from other websites that it deems to be legitimate. So if they're not legitimate websites that are linking back to your website, and there's a lot of activity around that, that could definitely penalize you. And there's a lot of people that have run into that situation where the link backs are manufactured. They're not real. They're from fake businesses or fake websites or fake places online. So really, what I'm asking you to do, and this is a lot of hard work, right, when it comes to doing SEO, is become part of a larger conversation. Find blogs about what you do or what you want to do. Become part of the larger conversation out there. Here, let me explain this just a little bit more. I think we have time. Where I grew up, I was a waiter in an Italian restaurant. The place was called Louie's. It was a cool place, and Louie looked like a ski bum, like 100% of the time. Great guy. So let's say Louie's. It was the only Italian restaurant in my small town. I loved working there. But let's say, right, that another Italian restaurant came to town and decided to set up shop across the street from Louie's. Now, Louie, I can see, right, ski bum Louie being like, listen, that's not going to happen. You cannot set up a restaurant, another Italian restaurant. Like there's got to be a law. There are zoning laws, right? You can't do that. That's competition, right? And putting it together. I think though that today, right, we've changed, like our mindset has changed, especially when it comes to SEO and the internet. It's like I sure they're competition. Like it's totally possible that their spumoni or their tortellini is better than mine, and people will go there for it. But really, there's an opportunity for Louie in this particular case. So if this restaurant's going to open up across town, Louie could take the approach of, you know what? Here's what we're going to do. I mean, I know our town is small, and I know this is Idaho, but we're going to create an Italian district, right? So if anybody wants Italian food anywhere in southeastern Idaho, this is the place to come. So if I'm hopping and you can't get in, you can go across the street, or go across the street, and they'll tell you that my lasagna is better than theirs, and that you should go across the street to get it. And I'll tell you that their tortellini is better than mine. You can go across the street to get it. But you were working together to create a location, a place to come and find Italian food. Now, this is the same when you join blogs or when you follow other people on Twitter. So my dad, if he's interested in quilting and knowing more about quilting, he could absolutely find a network on Twitter or find blogs about, they probably don't call it quilting. Now they think about like fabric arts, right? Like, so other dudes, other guys that are quilting, he could join that network. Now, are they competition? Sure. Like they're all trying to get business. But if they join together and there's a conversation about their different websites, and there's a conversation about what they're offering, and my dad's linking to Jim, and Jim is linking to Steve, and Steve is linking to Damien, right? That creates, for the robot in the sky, a bunch of legitimate websites that are referencing each other. It sees that there's activity, that there's something going on, so that when somebody in the world types in custom quilt online, right, buy a custom quilt online, it's going to serve up those results. They're only helping each other out when doing that. And that's where Twitter becomes really powerful, as you follow and work with other people in that social network, or Facebook, or even Pinterest. It's not a, hey, I'm going to follow you and find out what you're doing and try to steal all your secrets. Become part of the conversation. Link back and forth. Comment on each other's blogs. And that will then help your SEO ranking as you join part of the larger community. All right, let's jump back then to the presentation here. So making friends, social media networks, very, very important. And then one other thing that I definitely have to recommend, because this will create, again, links to your website, is to claim your listings. So online, there are many different directories, many different review sites. You want to make sure that you claim your listings on these sites as your own, and make sure that they have links back to your website. Now, listen, this is a ton of work, and there are tools that can help you do it online. So look for them. At GoDaddy, we have a tool that will help you do it. It's called Get Found, and basically what it does is it helps you claim these listings and manage these listings online so they link back to your site. Now, second reason why I think this is important, besides just linking back to your website, we're talking about SEO, and we're talking about ranking without paying for it, right? We're talking about, hey, I just want to show up in search results when somebody types custom handmade quilt, made by a dude, right? There's another piece to this beyond. I don't want to say beyond SEO, because it's kind of part of it, but it's not necessarily this on-page SEO and making friends and doing all these things. What you want is that when somebody searches for pizza in Phoenix, you just want to show up in the results. And so as you claim your listings and you get on Google Places, you get on Bing Local, and you get on Yahoo Local, and Yelp, and these other places, you want those to also serve up in the results. And so when you jump on those, if I search for best place in Phoenix to get blueberry pancakes, and I search on maps on my iPhone, then the results that come back are going to be by way of Yelp. And so I need to make sure that I'm there. So I hope that makes sense. Like it definitely helps with your ranking, because it shows that you're a legitimate business. You're out there. You have a phone number. You have an address. Like all those things, like really, really powerful, and they definitely help. But even more so, a lot of these applications that people use, especially with mobile devices, use these other services in order to serve back results. So things that are beyond the typical, I'm sitting at my desk just doing a Google search. And so that's another reason why it's really important to to take part in this. So mentioning Louie and mentioning I love that name, and now I'm going to giggle every time I say it. Real guy, Louie, and sort of collaborating and being part of a bigger conversation. As sort of one of the coming close to kind of a closing note here. SEO becomes really powerful when it's follows the rules of improv. Now, if you don't know that there's one rule to improv, if you've seen it, like Whose Line Is It Anyway, or some of the people on Saturday Night Live or Second City, all know this rule very well, and that's that you can't negate what somebody else said when they come up on stage. So if I walk on stage and I say, somebody says to me, hey, Pfunder, nice raccoon on your head. I can't say I don't have a raccoon on my head, right? I have to go, yeah. Do you like it? I bought it at JCPenney, and then they can't say, no, you didn't. You got it at Old Navy, right? They can be like, I totally love that place, JCPenney. The reason I bring this up is when you join these social conversations, then I get that commentators and people on the internet can be really harsh and argue back and forth and things like that. The way to build a network is to take this yes and approach. So when you see that somebody is doing something remarkable, even if it's competition, even if it's something that's very similar to what you're doing, tell them that it's remarkable. Like, share it with your friends that it's remarkable. I mean, what happens, right? Like, if somebody online, if somebody online that also wants to rank really high, in pancakes and wants to sell pancakes online, if somebody else wants to do that and they see my website and they share my website and they go, hey, you guys, you got to check out this recipe for the sweet potato cinnamon pancakes, I'm going to see that they shared that, and I'm going to go, who in the world are they? And I'm going to go and I'm going to look at their website, and I'm going to say, oh, dude, they're totally into pancakes like I am, and I love their website, and I'm going to reciprocate. I just do. Like, I'm grateful for what they did. I understand that they're not doing it just so that we can get good SEO back and forth, but because we're creating a legitimate relationship, a legitimate partnership online. We're building on each other instead of me going, yeah, but my pancakes are better, or but you don't know what you're doing, right? Like, we're building that relationship. That yes and approach allows you to network. It allows you to build out something. It allows your social media circles to grow when you go with that approach. And that's what we're interested in. As you have something special to give to the world, you have something special or unique to give people, that then makes you more remarkable. And you'll get ideas, right? You'll get ideas of things that you could give people beyond just your services or your goods or the things that you sell or your brain power, your consultation, whatever. There's other things that you can give. There's other things that you can offer that make it remarkable, and you'll learn that from being part of these networks and joining these other networks that will help your SEO. Advice, templates, a book, coupons, links to cool stuff, memberships, tools, stories, pictures, all that type of stuff. Okay, so one final word before we wrap things up. So with SEO, quick recap: you want to define who you are. In the case of my dad, a quilting fireman. You want to take those definitions, those keywords, and put them onto your website. That's the on-page SEO, and then you want to make friends. You absolutely want to get out and network. Network, I think, in person, but also network on the internet. And once you do that, you want to make sure that you are measuring everything. Test everything. So Google makes it very easy with Google Analytics. It's a very, very popular platform where you can measure and see what people are searching as they get to your website. You can see how people are finding your website by way of other websites, other networks, other social media networks. It's very easy to hook up. If you do a Google search for Google Analytics, I promise it comes up and they'll walk you through it. But you want to measure that. Because here's the great thing, at least for me, the great thing about the internet is if I go after the handmade quilts made by a dude for a keyword and I realize after 3 or 4 weeks that that's not the thing that we should be looking for, I can adjust. I can change it. If I find that the keywords that I am looking for and that actually serves results are great, I keep them. But the only way I'm going to know either way is if I'm measuring it, if I'm actually going in and looking to see what's working and what isn't working. All right, so this, wow, we went a little bit longer than I was anticipating. So we're at 9:56. We got 4 minutes, I guess, to take some questions. Now, good news is I've got Colby and CJ who are rad, and they've been producers on this and very silent and quiet in the background, even though I try to make them laugh about jokes about pancakes and firemen. They've been following along and answering a lot of your questions, and so I'm going to kind of check with them if there's like a general theme or different questions that we've seen come up that we want to address.
I have a question from actually yesterday.
Sure.
It was from Lisa Coffee. I hope I'm saying her name right. It says, one of the things I've been looking for is a good tool to do competitor keyword analysis for different sites. Do you have any suggestions?
A good tool.
Yeah, right on the spot.
I know, that's great. I actually saw that one yesterday, and then I went, "Oh man, I hope that one doesn't come up during the hangout tomorrow." No, listen. I don't have great suggestions for that one, to be totally honest. But I will ask. We've got some really great SEO experts that do it for a living here at GoDaddy, and I will ask them if they've got something. My immediate thoughts on it, and it's harder because it takes time to do. Is actually doing searches for your competition, but also just doing searches for different types of keywords and keyword phrases. So I would go into Google Analytics, not Google Analytics, into the keyword analyzer. And in that keyword analyzer, it will serve up other suggestions for what I'm looking for, and then I would type those in. I would search for them and see what the results are that are coming back. I feel bad that I don't have a good answer, but that's an honest answer, right? So very, very cool. What other questions do we have that are coming in?
She had another question that you probably already saw because it was included, where she was asking about trying to find businesses in her neighborhood have the same IP, but I don't think that's something. You can do IP searches on the website.
Yeah, so finding businesses in your neighborhood with the same IP, I'm not sure if that's not metaphorical. Is that electronic? So the question was, is there a way to find businesses in your neighborhood with the same IP? Yeah, you can do IP lookups and things like that, and the IPs are going to be similar based on location, if that's what we're talking about, actual physical location. But otherwise, I don't know. Colby, is there one?
Yeah. So Plaza Domains wants to know what is the keyword overuse tipping point on a
page? The keyword overuse tipping point on a page. So based on the recommendations that I've gotten or received from people much smarter than I am here, because we write a lot, we have a blog and everything else. We try to keep it between no more than 3 on a page for those particular phrases, and oftentimes I'm looking at once or twice on the page. The actual tipping point, I don't know. They keep that pretty tight, pretty wrapped up. Google's notorious for it, but I'm sure somebody else at Google might be able to show us their hand down the road. Really, I think the answer you would get from them, and oftentimes the answer with us, is just make sure that what you're writing is for human beings. Don't feel like you've got to abuse it and stuff different things in there. Cool. Other questions? I think we're okay going over a little bit if we need to.
Yeah, there's another question, but before I get to that, I think it's that we should all plan to go to Trenton Schaefer's house because he's going to go make pancakes right now.
Oh man, that's awesome. So CJ let us know that before we get to questions, Trenton's making pancakes, and we're all welcome. So we'll see if we can't find his house after this.
All right, this one's from Patrick Isaacson. How does new Google engine affect already SEO heavy sites? If they're penalized or not?
Right. So Google engines. How does new Google engines affect already SEOs optimized sites? So what I've seen. So Google every 2 years releases a new version of their search engine. It's kind of like Apple releasing a new version of their OS. The latest ones, was it Penguin and Panda? I think there might even be another one that they've released. I love that people come up with just crazy names for their releases. It does affect sites that were already optimized, meaning I have a good friend. He's a plumber, and he had already optimized his site working with another SEO company. That SEO company had used what I mentioned before as the fake websites or the fake linkbacks from other places on the internet. So places that really were not interested in his plumbing to provide linkbacks to the site. When those releases came out from Google, it did penalize him. He ran into a situation where his previous #1 ranking or #2 or #3 or #4, he ended up many pages in on the website. So does it penalize you? Yeah, it can penalize you, but only if basically you were trying to trick the Googles of the world, right? If you were putting in these different and I don't mean you personally doing it. Oftentimes we take the advice from friends and family, right? But if you were doing those types of things, it could penalize you. Now, the way out of it, right? If you want out of something like that, if it's really bad, you might want to consult another SEO expert on it, on whether or not you need to get a different server, a different domain name, things like that. Honestly, I think the way out of it is to just provide really, really great content and get people talking about your business legitimately. And that does mean getting creative and creating something remarkable, something that's shareable, something that's unique about your business. That creates that buzz so that other people share it, and that will help you get out of something like that. What do we got? Other questions?
There is Lori asks, do you suggest most websites have a blog to help with SEO?
Do I suggest most websites have a blog to help with SEO? A blog will always help your website with SEO if you maintain it. So listen, if you're going to do a blog, if you're going to put something up where you have news, you're going to talk about it, it absolutely does, especially if you grow that and you have a network. You have people that are commenting on it. You're commenting on other people's blogs. You're sharing the posts in social media. That fresh content is gold to the robot in the sky. Because if you think about it, robots looking down, that's one of the things it can see. They keep updating this website. There's new content on this website every week. So obviously there's a human being hopefully behind it, especially if people are then sharing that content. The risk, right, with a blog and the risk with doing something like that is just if you can't maintain it. And listen, it's not going to be horrible. The robot's not going to look down and go, haha, look, they started a blog and they couldn't maintain it. I just think it may be better for you to put your effort into making remarkable services or even updating the current pages you have if you can't commit to that full publishing cycle or that editorial calendar for your website. What else?
Kimberly asked a really good question.
Yeah.
What is a good amount of time to wait to analyze the keyword results?
What is a good amount of time to wait to analyze your keyword results? The funny thing is, I would definitely turn on something like Google Analytics so that you can see what the results are coming back. You can see the traffic and things like that almost immediately. But we had a similar question last week that's related to this one. Is just how much should I be checking in general, anyways? Now, if you're like me, I'm going to be checking especially if I launch something and I just got the analytics hooked up and I just tried these new keywords. I'm going to start looking at it that day. I'm going to start looking at it over the course of the next 4 or 5 days, every single day. You will get down into a rhythm where I think looking at the results every couple of weeks, depending on your industry, right? If you're a divorce lawyer in Miami or something like that, that may kick up a little bit faster depending on the money you're spending. But if you're selling cupcakes, or if you're an artist or a designer, taking a quick look in the first couple of days to see what the results look like, and then just getting into a rhythm where you're reviewing your results week over week, I think is plenty to be able to see whether or not the results are coming back. The good news is the results kick on pretty quick with Google. It's much faster than it used to be with search engines where you would say, wait 4 weeks, right, before you see something. Now, if you have a campaign, when I say campaign, if you're going to do something that will generate traffic in social media, will help you go viral or something like that, Make sure you look before you launch, during, and then right after to see what the results look like, and they'll kick up pretty fast.
So not a question, but Barbara wanted to let you know it's not all potatoes and mountains up here in regard to your Idaho.
Yeah, so Barbara wanted us to know that it's not all potatoes and mountains up there. No, there's also grass, and there's I love Idaho. I really do. It's not all potatoes and mountains. No. All right. What else? I think we're wrapping up. Hey, you guys. Thank you so much. I think we've got other ones that are planned coming up here in a little bit. Please check out. Follow us on Google+. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and we will continue to update you guys when we have the next ones coming up. Thank you so much for watching, and I'm sorry, Barbara, about insulting Idaho. I'll see you guys later.